I want to talk about in general some of the things that you as a business owner or حتى someone who wants to start a business might go through. I definitely wish that I had someone kind of tell me some of the things that I'm going to talk about today before I started. And that's why I thought it would be beneficial for me to talk about it. Quick note, it might seem a bit intimidating. It might seem a bit scary as well in terms of some of the things I'll share. Just try to hype the topic up as well. But I also try to basically talk about the topic and then present a couple of solutions. And I think I really want you guys to kind of focus on some of the solutions I'll talk about. My topic today is the untold secrets about starting a business. This comes from my own personal experience. So as Yasser mentioned, I graduated in banking and finance, or accounting and finance rather. And then I joined a corporate job. I spent 3 years working there at Unilever. But then that's when, while working at Unilever, the idea of Malaeb came to me. Personally, myself, I'm a football fanatic, and I'm usually the one who is organizing matches. I had a couple of groups, I organized tournaments. Even when we went to the UK, I was the one organizing football matches for the guys who were there with me. And I even joined a couple of matches with people from the UK itself. To me, it was a completely new experience. So it was something that I was never prepared for. It was something that I even never had in mind that I was going to do at some point. It just came to me as an idea, and then it built up from step to step until I decided to kind of pursue it full time. And throughout the past 4 or 5 years, it's been a journey of just messing up, failing, learning, and just trying to figure everything out on my own. So I'm just trying to relay my personal experience about some of the things that I have learned out of the 4 or 5 years. So for those of you who don't know what Malaeb is a social community app that connects people through sports. We allow people to either find the venues that they prefer to play in, and they can book them through the app directly. And they can also organize and join pickup matches. So assuming you're in Bahrain today, you want to play football or you want to play another sport, you can just open the app. You'll find matches that are listed on the app, and you can just join and play with people that you don't even know, or you can just stay active and keep moving. So as Yasser mentioned today, currently we are in 5 countries, Bahrain, Saudi, Kuwait, Oman, and Emirat. We have over 200,000 users, and we have over 500 venues that are working with us. And I still think that we have a long way to go going forward as well. So the topic revolves around what I call untold secrets. So I've segmented it into sub-topics, and then I'll talk about each one specifically. So the first untold secret I wanted to talk about was initially at idea stage, or at the stage you guys are at right now. So a lot of you might come across ideas, might want to start something, they'll have a discussion. Another friend will tell them about an idea. And at this stage, your idea is not as simple as you think it is. What does that mean? And I'll share my own experience. So while working at Unilever, from a personal experience, I found that the process of booking a football field was pretty annoying. So initially, what I started doing is I started thinking of what the solution is. Then what I did was what we call hasbat badu, or just I got a piece of paper out, started counting the number of pitches in Bahrain, started counting how much it costs to rent, then started counting how many bookings on average they might have. And then I calculated a number that based on my projection of how the business will run. I was like, oh, cool. I can start this app on the side while working, and I can make 5,000 BD in net profit per month as an extra revenue. So the idea seemed pretty simple. My calculations seemed pretty straightforward. And it seemed pretty doable. It's easy. The app will be developed, and then I'll just leave it on the side and people will use it to book, and that's about it. As the reality with apps and startups in general, or even any business in general, is that it goes much more beyond that. why is my idea not as simple as it sounds? One, like I said, we humans tend to oversimplify ideas. When you're not in it or you don't know how much effort it requires to start an app, the idea might sound simple, the solution might sound simple, the calculations might sound simple, everything might sound very simple from an outsider point of view. As the reality is, it's a much more complex world. And once you actually start and go to market, you'll find so many differences than your expectation. Second, having an idea is different than running a business. The idea is just the beginning. And then how to basically get there and how to successfully scale it and run it and operate it and acquire market share is a completely different reality than just having an idea. And then third is running a business is different than running a successful business as well. So a lot of people can run a business technically, but eventually, what does it mean to run a successful business? What does it mean to scale it to different countries? What does it mean to basically keep growing the market, keep disrupting, keep shaping a new industry as well? And one of my points later is regarding success itself and failure as well, that we're going to be talking about. Last, there are so many variables that you can't fully control. So you have your team, your employees you're going to hire, the market and how the market is moving, and laws and different things that will happen within the market. Competition, so you're not alone in the market you're operating in. You have so many different people who are going to start to compete with you, try to take market share, and it's completely normal. Competition is healthy. Customers, you can't control how customers are using or perceiving or understanding your product as well. And there are so many other variables as well. COVID is one example. If you talked to me 4 or 5 years ago and told me that, are you planning a backup plan or a contingency plan in case there was a pandemic? I'd have told you no, the last pandemic was 100 years ago, and it was inconceivable to even think that there would be something like COVID happening. So in general, there are a lot of factors that you can't really control. So I'm not telling you this to tell you that it's impossible, it's hard, don't do it. But what can you do at this stage, at idea stage, in order for you to kind of mitigate these risks and plan yourselves better? So this was one of the, my last topic in the incubator was regarding what we call the startup journey. So it went in depth regarding how to basically take things step by step and how to go from idea to launch. I'm not going to talk about this in detail. I think if you want to go through my last talk, Isra can share the link, or you can go into the account and find it. And Isra can basically tell you where to find that topic. In order for you to move from idea to actual implementation, there are 4 main steps that you need to do. The first is to basically explore and plan. So at this stage, just trying to find the idea, trying to find what you want to do, and trying to shape it into the market you're operating in. The second is market research. So once you have the idea of what you want to do, you have to start researching the market before even spending a dinar or doing any effort in terms of actually implementing the idea or the business. So in terms of competitors, in terms of the clients, in terms of the customers, in terms of who will use the app, who you're going to deal with, how big is the market. All of these things are things that you have to do in the beginning before you even start implementing, because you need to understand how the market looks and how exactly will you place or launch your product. Third is market validation. So even after you finish all of this, and even if your market research does look very promising, the quickest way is to get data and to actually validate your ideas to build an MVP, a minimum viable product. Quick definition of an MVP is basically launching a certain implementation of your idea using the least amount of resources and the least amount of time possible. And that will help you validate how people interact with your idea, and then basically how they will use it afterwards. And then you can build on top. Once you're done with the MVP, that's when you can start building your product and investing more to build your product. And this might sound in that's targeted towards tech only. It doesn't. Quick example is if you want to start a restaurant, quickest way to kind of validate a new concept that you have that hasn't been implemented in Bahrain is to basically go to food markets, food festivals, take booths and try out their food and see what the reception is. If it's very positive, then you can start looking into the next steps in terms of scaling. And that also applies to other lines of businesses. The second secret kind of I want to talk about is regarding the experience of starting a business. So you don't know yourself as well as you think you do. Plus it can get pretty lonely while doing or starting your own business. What does that mean? So like I told you guys, when I started my business with no background, I never went through the experience of even something similar to doing it. So it's nothing like anything you've been through before. So at university, at work, whatever culture or environment you've been, it's different because one, nobody will shape you or basically teach you what to expect and how to do things. In university, in work, you always have someone you can go back to. You have your tutor, you have your teacher, you have your college professor. At work, if you join early on, you have supervisors, you have managers. And you can always kind of lean back to them for guidance. You can go back to them, you can ask them. And you're basically going to be working in environments where things are pretty well structured. So there is an expectation. It's been done for a while. And people know kind of what to expect and how others will do it. And there are so many people who have gone through the same experience as you do. As with starting a business, each case is unique. Even if you know people have started a business, their experience is going to be completely different than yours. They can give you pointers, they can give you indicators to guide you, but eventually it's something that you will have to face and learn on your own. And it's very dynamic as well. You face different challenges every single day. So it really is nothing like you've done before, and you need to be prepared for that as well. You'll face the unthinkable and imaginable. I mentioned the example of COVID. Who could have predicted how that happens? And eventually, if it happens, you can't just say, yeah, COVID happened and I can't make it. If you have grit, if you have the urgency to succeed, you'll just figure out ways to kind of navigate around COVID. You'll find ways to navigate around whatever they're going to face. So you need to be prepared for that as well mentally, in terms of just having that grit, determination, hustle, in order for you to find solutions for any situation you face. If you face a problem, you don't just feel sorry that there's a problem, even if it's something completely out of your control. You try to kind of analyze what the problem is, absorb it, and then try to find solutions, even if it means pivoting your whole business. It was something that we were completely ready to do. Initially, early at COVID, we didn't know how serious it was. We didn't know how big of an impact it was going to be. So we had a contingency plan to kind of pivot the whole company to a completely different concept related to fitness as well, which was online workouts and basically doing fitness and exercises online. And we did implement some part of it at least to kind of just experiment and get more data. As with time we saw, okay, fine, COVID's going to be an obstacle going forward, but it's not going to be a showstopper. But you need to be prepared to have that backup plan and completely just jump into it eventually. And the last and most important topic is the success or failure of your business depends on you and you only. With this, nobody is going to basically do some work on your behalf or try to support you or try to push you to succeed or give you that push. You need to do it on your own. You need to figure things out on your own. And you basically need to have that bit because eventually, if you don't have the willpower and the motivation to do it, the work isn't going to get done and you're going to fall behind. So what can we do about whatever I basically mentioned? The first and most important is expand your knowledge. And this is a continuous process. It doesn't matter if you're Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Steve Jobs. Knowledge is something that you need to improve every single day. By reading, by asking other people, by reflecting, by analyzing what you're doing. So expanding your knowledge has to be a constant mindset that you have. being humble and just eager enough as well to just learn something new every single day, either by reading a book, by researching articles, by talking to other people, by having a mentor who will just guide you and tell you about stuff and teaching you stuff as well, by even learning out of your team members who you're going to eventually hire. But expanding your knowledge is something that you need and have to have, regardless of how late or how early you are in a startup or in a business, or even in your corporate and own life. So that's, I think, one basic element that allows anyone to kind of succeed. Because, and that brings me to my third point, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Whatever problems you face, whatever business you try to solve, whatever thing you need to start, it's probably been done already. If you're talking about a business or a concept or an idea, you'll find at least 10, 20 other people in the UK, Europe, Asia, even in the region here, who have tried to do it at some point and who have probably done so successfully. Second, if you face a problem with a certain topic, marketing, accounting, HR, you find so many resources online of people who have been through these situations and who have already can just give you the knowledge on how to kind of address it and how to basically learn out of it as well. So you don't need to necessarily try to reinvent the wheel in terms of you learning and experimenting and failing at every single thing. There are so many resources online that will give you kind of shortcuts to kind of do things and basically learn things as well. Fourth is that you always need to have a plan, whether you're at the idea stage, whether you're at a late stage, whether you have 20 employees under you, whether you're on your own. You always need to have a plan that's very objective as well, which is point number 5. In terms of, don't just have a plan in terms of, for example, I'll grow. That's a very big plan. So you need to have quantifiable outcomes as well out of your plan. So, for example, if you're starting a restaurant, then it means I'll grow from 50 orders to 500 orders. Or if you have an e-commerce, same thing. I'll grow from this number to this number. Or it could be a percentage. So I'll be growing by 20, 30% month by month. So you always need to have a plan, and you always need to have a plan ahead as well. So don't be focused on today and tomorrow only. Have a plan in terms of what happens next. Not to the level that you won't be able to implement today, but just plan ahead. Have quantifiable KPIs that guide you towards, okay, I'm doing well, I'm not doing well. Stay away from very vague KPIs or very vague progress metrics that you might set. Always try to quantify your plan as well. Next is trying to be objective about things. Try not to be subjective in terms of just looking at things from your own point of view, or even trying to analyze it from a very subjective point of view. Objectivity is very important. And with objectivity, you also need to kind of eliminate emotions. So always try to ask yourself, does this make sense? Try to question and challenge yourself as well. So if you've set some sort of KPI, if you've had some sort of disagreement, always be objective. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? Look at the pros, look at the cons. Why will it succeed? Why will it fail? And that will kind of help you stay on course and kind of just not sidetrack or not face certain distractions that are gonna basically slow you down. And last is to do with motivation. So constantly remind yourself on why you started this, how far you've come. Doing a business day to day, and you want to focus on the progress you're doing. Sometimes you'll sit back after a month and you look back at the month and you say, did I really do all of that in a month? It seems like a huge amount of work. The amount of work will always, if you're looking ahead, will look huge. But just be consistent day by day. Just keep doing small incremental steps. And by the end of the month, you'll see that the amount of work you've put in and how you've done things is incredibly huge. And you need to build up on top of that as well. So if you're feeling down, demotivated at times, always constantly remind yourself, why did I start this? Ideas can start basically from a hobby, a passion, solving a certain problem, trying to change something, trying to have a positive impact on the society or whatever field you're working So you always need to kind of remind yourself on the bigger goal of what drove you to start this, and the fact that you are improving step by step. The third secret is your only competition is yourself. And what does that mean? So a lot of times and a lot of places, a lot of people will basically spend too much time looking at what other people are doing. Could be their competitors, could be their friends, could be, for example, if you started a business and your university colleague joined the job and then they got promoted or they're handling a bigger role. Or they might have started another business and they have raised funding or have expanded into a new country. Or even looking at our competitors, maybe they have a good feature that you don't have or taking away your customers. Eventually, you need to remind yourself that this is your journey and you're only in a race against yourself. Stop looking at others, and the only thing you need to look at is basically bettering or being better than yourself tomorrow and just constantly improving. That doesn't mean that you need to just turn a blind eye and not look at competition, not look at the market, but your look at them has to be objective in terms of learning out of what they're doing. They're doing something better than you, be humble enough to say, okay, fine, they're doing better there, but we can do even better than them eventually down the line. Second, the definition of measures of success differs from one person or company to another. So success by itself is a bit subjective in terms of what does success mean. So to me as Malaeb, when I started, maybe in the beginning, my measure of success would be to penetrate the Bahraini market and grow in the Bahraini market. But eventually, as we went, no, it became GCC, and then GCC becomes MENA, and then MENA becomes the world. So that measure of success is always different and is always subjective. To another person, it could be, khalas, I am successful and I did it and I'm content. And it's fine, completely fine with that. Eventually, like I said, this is your journey and you need to define what success means to you. And once you do, and once you try to challenge yourself to grow your success or be happy with where you are, that's when you're kind of going to be growing and also just being content and happy with where you are as well. Don't try to compare yourself to others as well. So you might find a company who raised 20 or 30 million, but the market they're operating in is completely different than yours. It has different outcomes, it has different expectations, the size is different as well. So just the fact that they have raised, for example, 20 million, you haven't, doesn't mean that you failed or they're doing better or you're missing out or whatever it is. Sometimes it's a timing issue. So their market is a bit far ahead in terms of growth and investor appetite. As your market is still developing, it's still growing. So in a startup, in a business, in whatever you try to build, there are so many different factors around what you're building. And each one is a completely unique case in itself. And like I said, just adapt the same mindset even while addressing this with your competitors as well. So if your mindset is to be better than yourself tomorrow and to constantly evolve, it doesn't matter what your competition is doing. You just keep having that mindset of growing and learning and doing and improving to the point that eventually you're going to outperform them because you don't care about what others are doing. You just want to improve day by day and you want to keep growing day by day as well. So that's really important in terms of keep challenging yourself, keep being honest enough with yourself to say that, for example, I didn't work hard enough this week or this month, or I need to do better, or I need to learn, or I need to move faster. So competition is against yourself, not others. This is something that a lot of founders, including myself, are not really aware about, and it's a really important topic, which is health, both mental and physical. So your health should always be your priority. Starting a business or working a startup or starting a startup means that it can be the toughest thing you ever do in terms of the amount of work that you have to do, the amount of learning you have to do, the pace you have to move in. So it's really, really tough in terms of having to do it on your own. Second, you will need to work day and night, especially in the early days. Like I mentioned earlier, you're the one pushing this. You're the one trying to make this succeed. That means that, and it comes naturally with a lot of people in terms of just, and when you have your own business, you're focused 24/7 on what the business is doing. Even if you sometimes go out, go sit with family, your mind is always switched on to what's happening with the family. If a problem happens, it doesn't matter if it happens on a weekend, weekday, at 2 a.m. or at 2 p.m., you need to be prepared to be there to kind of solve it. So you will have to kind of work very hard, and you will have to work day and night if required, especially in the beginning. Third, you will be pressured, financially, mentally, socially. So especially in the beginning, you can't afford to pay yourself a salary or a good enough salary to continue living. Mentally, having to be switched on day and night, having to work weekends, no days off, can eventually get you. Socially, and you get ready to not see your friends, not see your family, just work constantly. So eventually all of this can get pretty pressuring on you personally. And last, you will break down, and probably multiple times as well. I've personally gone through that multiple times in terms of just burning myself out to the point where I just can't get myself out of bed in the morning. I can't get myself motivated enough to work. Any problem I face seems so huge, so big. And these are phases that everyone will go through, and it's fine. You're not the only one going through it. Literally every single founder goes through these kind of moments and these type of experiences as well. So I wanted to share this with you. So in 2017, we were fundraising. And we started in around late 2016. We managed to fundraise from Tenmu, and then that got us to basically build the product, hire, market. Eventually, we were fundraising, and we were reaching the end of our runway. And we basically had to scrap month by month just to kind of continue to be able to pay salaries to our employees as well. So towards the end, we were getting to a point where we are running out of money. So 1 month, we had to scramble. We were doing a lot of things that we weren't expected to do. So we were, for example, providing some of the pitch owners with photography services and handling their social medias. We built an app for the Ministry of Youth and Sports just to get money to be able to sustain until we finished the fundraise. So in October, or end of September, beginning of October, we basically scrapped ourselves to basically دفعنا المعاشات. We paid all the salaries. I opened the bank account in the beginning of the month, and it had 800 fils. And keep in mind, we had 6 employees at the time, and we had rent, we had subscription we had to pay. So just looking at it, eventually I did find, thankfully, the funny side of it. I sent it to Ahmed, my co-founder at the time, and I told him we can't even buy ourselves dinner if we wanted to go out. So the company account had 800 fils, and that was it. But thankfully, within the same month, we managed to kind of close the round, and we managed to get the funding that we need. So you can't possibly prepare yourself to how difficult that can be. Even looking back at it, I never really understood how we managed to pay all the salaries, alhamdulillah, and we never got to a month where we didn't pay our employees' salaries. Yes, if you ask me, how did you do it? To be honest, I don't know how. We just hustled. We just worked day by day. We just tried to get money from different clients. We tried to basically give discounts to certain clients to pay in advance. And that just got us through step by step until we managed to get to where we want to be. A lot of people will look at what the company or the founder is doing, and from the outside, it does look like they know what they're doing, or everything is running smoothly, everything is running great, and they're amazing and they're smart people. But I just wanted to actually send you a screenshot of what that looked like, because a lot of people don't see the struggles that go behind. And you need to also be prepared for that. So you need to slow down, not literally in terms of growth, not literally in terms of stopping your progress, but you need to also constantly remind yourself of a couple of things to kind of maintain your mental and physical health as well. Because whatever you do, trust me, your business, your startup, whatever you're doing is not worth it if it's impacting your health, if it's getting you to the hospital, even in some cases, it's really not worth it. Number one, as you start your business and as you're very busy regarding growth and constantly growing, constantly improving, you sometimes forget to actually enjoy the journey. So starting a business has its pros and cons as well. One of the pros is that you need to actually enjoy yourself. You're doing this yourself. Nobody's telling you what to do. So you need to kind of enjoy the journey, enjoy what you're doing, enjoy what you have, try to have fun while doing it. Because if you're not, something is wrong over there. And it shouldn't be something that should happen to you in that sense. So try to enjoy the journey overall, try to have fun. You're setting all the rules yourself, and you shape the experience you're going to have. So just try to enjoy it. Look out for burnout symptoms. So if you're working 24/7, and at points you need to work 24/7 as well, just not constantly, not over 1, 2, 3, 4 years, because eventually you'll have what they call a burnout, where you're there physically and you want to work, but eventually you're not going to be productive. You're not going to be efficient. You're going to a task that takes you an hour to do, you're going to take 3, 4, 5 hours to do. You're going to have a foggy mind in terms of not having clarity, not knowing what to do, not knowing what comes next. So at times, just take a day off. It's fine. At times, take a week off to travel and come back refreshed. So you need to balance out the expectations of the growth and what happens in terms of just taking a day off or taking a week off. Because if you want to operate at 100%, it's better to work at 100% 5 days a week than to work at 60, 70% for 7 days a week. And at times you do need to take these days off in order for you to come back and be more efficient and actually achieve more the next day. Second is just have hobbies, have activities. Could be exercising, could be a gym, could be football, could be painting, could be dancing, whatever it is. You need to have some activities or go back hobbies to basically just blow some steam off. Take your mind off things for a couple of hours, and then that will help you just maintain your sanity as well in terms of how to address and navigate your startup. Second is talk to other founders, people who have started their own businesses or startups. It's always good to talk to your friends, your family, but you might find that even though they're trying to support you and to be understanding and to kind of relate to what you're going through, a lot of people really don't, because like I mentioned earlier, starting your own business is a completely unique experience. So what I found at least was talking to other founders. Sometimes I would go with a problem or I'm facing certain pressures, and either they have been through that themselves, so they'll kind of give me solutions to what they've been through and how they went through it, or they'll completely relate to what I'm saying and they'll completely on the spot understand what I'm saying, and that will help them kind of support you and give you solutions and just brainstorm ways to kind of get through it. So talking to other people who have founded a startup is always beneficial. Last, always remind yourself your pending work is not going to run away. If you take a day off, you'll come tomorrow and that work will still be there. Unless it's a very important deadline, unless it's a deal that you can't afford to lose, and time is a constraint over there, it's still going to be there. That report you need to write is still going to be there. That email you're going to need to send is still going to be there. And taking one day off might not make that much of a difference. So in terms of what I said, like I mentioned, it might sound like it's a very negative experience, but to be honest, at least to me, this has been the best thing I've ever done by far in life. It shaped who I am, it changed the way I think, it changed the way I perceive things, even in personal life, and it just made me more confident on the go as well. But keeping in mind, it could also be the worst thing you ever do. And it can be a very toxic, negative experience that you might be able to go through. Either ways, always try to remember, first of all, why did I start this? Even if it was a complete failure and basically it was an experience that you enjoy a lot, remind yourself of why you started it in the first place and the reasons that drove you to kind of start it. Second, how far you've come. So eventually, whether you're a success or a failure, eventually you will learn a lot, you will grow a lot, you will change the way you think, you will change the way you do things as well. So it's always, to me, whatever you do and whatever experience you go to, it's always going to be a growth journey that you have. And you need to embrace that kind of. What did you learn out of it as well? So compare yourself, your knowledge, your capability of doing things before and after. And fourth is how good all the ups were. So the feeling you get when you achieve something or when you do something is very, very empowering and very satisfactory. It's very addictive as well. So at times you will feel the sense of pride in yourself that you managed to achieve something, you managed to close a deal, you managed to achieve a very hard KPI that you had. And that feeling, there are very few feelings that I can compare to it. So it's always really important to kind of remember how these ups felt, because you need to shape a positive experience regarding what you're doing. And last, at some point, it's always okay to acknowledge that maybe starting a business isn't for you. If it managed to be a failure or a negative experience. And it's completely normal. So in our society, I think there is this perception that in order for you to be a successful person, you need to start your own business, which isn't always the case. You can be successful in so many different ways. A very quick example is basically giving back to the society and volunteering. That's something that's very positive that I think is very underrated to what we do over here. So try not to paint an image that just because I didn't start my business, or just because I failed at my business, or just because I'm succeeding at my business, that this shapes or defines who I am and what I'm doing. It's completely fine to acknowledge at times that I tried it, and I'm going to talk about trying and failure in a bit. But I tried it, I succeeded, I failed, but eventually, whatever the outcome is, you should be completely fine with the conclusion behind it. And there is no shame, there is no wrong, there is no failures in what we do, basically. It's just a matter of you trying to define what you want to do in life and just trying stuff, and maybe you like them, maybe you don't. As long as you're completely comfortable with the outcome, don't let people try to impact how you feel as well. The last is regarding failure. So in our society, I think there's a very fearful and negative image of what failure is. And people always perceive, and I talk to a lot of young people as well, who are always afraid to start something because what if I fail? That sounds difficult, it sounds too hard. A lot of people tried and failed. And it's completely fine. So a quote I really like is that failure is not the opposite of success. It's actually part of success. And the things I kind of learned about failure is, one, if you don't even try, you've already failed by definition. So to me, at least, I'd rather try something, give it a shot, fail, and then learn, okay, what did this failure mean? Why did I fail? What did I learn? How did I grow? And eventually just use that experience to constantly grow who I am as a person, to constantly try and shape that into my next experience, either in terms of starting another business, either in terms of my personal life. But eventually, trying is actually really important. And you need to give things a shot. You need to get out of your comfort zone at times and just try things. Maybe you like them, maybe you don't. Either ways, it's completely fine. Nobody's counting, nobody's scoring you in terms of just not succeeding or failing at something. So in our culture, I think we need to kind of normalize what failure is. Try to even celebrate failures at times. Doesn't mean that we're creating an environment or a culture of failure, but eventually we need to recognize that failure is a step, and then it's growing you and shaping you into the direction that you need to be on. So second is you learn more than failure from success. Even within successful startups, and even if you see interviews for the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, you'll see that they failed so many times, even within their successful startup. And then it's just a matter of having the mentality of moving forward, going and improving, trying things and failing, trying things and completely messing them up. But eventually, messing things up should not be the outcome. It should be the point that drives you to the next point that might be very successful as well. So you need to learn from failure, and failure is a very, I think, influential teacher to anyone, basically, to kind of drive them into that successful mindset. Third is failure is a lesson learned, and the success is a lesson applied. So that integrates kind of how failure relates to success as well. Because like I said, any failure is something that you need to learn out of. If you fail and don't learn, that's a problem, because you're going to then try it the next time and you didn't learn your lesson and you're going to fail again. But if you learned out of that failure or that mistake you did, then eventually just try to apply it, and then it will improve what you do, and it will just shape the next experience into a successful one. And just like I mentioned, just try to celebrate your failure and move on. You try to start your business, didn't work, fine. Be proud of that. I tried, I learned a lot as well out of it. And don't shape your life around that business you started or that job you failed at, or I don't know, you tried to join a sports team, for example, and you might have failed at it, or you lost the match, or whatever it is. Just keep looking in front, keep looking in the future, and keep trying to improve yourself day by day. And don't always look at the past and feel bad about it, because that's when it's going to consume you. And it's a journey of you moving forward and learning in life in general.